And for more on this policy review, we can speak to Aleksandr Pikaev from the Moscow-based Institute of World Economy and International Relations, who joins us now live from RT's newsroom. Mr. Pikaev, a very warm welcome to the program. So what does the Russian military doctrine currently say about the use of nuclear arms? Will the new one be a major shift in policy?
Well, so far there is no any new Russian military doctrine. Secretary Patrushev was talking about a draft document which used to be approved by the Russian president, and the draft would be ready by the end of the year. So far we are talking about draft. Existing Russian military doctrine, however, permits a first use of Russian nuclear weapons under certain circumstances. If somebody invaded Russia or had an attack on Russian military forces abroad, for instance, and under certain circumstances it could invite Russian nuclear attack. But it is not the first strike, so to speak. It would be response on a military attack made by the others. Here, Russia is not alone. The current Russian military doctrine in this particular point is similar to doctrinal documents of other nuclear powers like the United States, the United Kingdom, France. In Russian case, the reliance on nuclear weapons is dictated by perceived weakness of Russian conventional forces, and such weaknesses should be compensated by Russian nuclear might. In the US case, it's much more controversial because the United States has a huge conventional predominance over all countries in the world put together, but still they rely on a first use of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, once again, why are these rule changes needed, and why now?
Well, again, we are talking about some preliminary thinking. It is not approved by the Russian president, so it's not a doctrine. But probably as a result of last year war with Georgia, Russian generals realized that Russian conventional might is even weaker than they expected, and therefore they are now talking that nuclear weapons could be used in regional conflicts, in even local conflicts. Recent doctrine permits that, but it didn't state that explicitly. And for the first time, Secretary Patrushev stated that the Russian nuclear forces could be used even in local conflict, which might reflect a peculiar reality that Russian conventional forces is not enough to have a guaranteed victory even in a local conflict. And this is very sad. I would also say that probably the time for such explicit statement is not right, because next year we will have a Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference, and non-nuclear states ask nuclear states to reduce the role of nuclear weapons in their doctrines, but now such statements give an impression, which is not true. Everything was everything is in existent military doctrine, but it creates a perception that Russia increases the role of nuclear weapons in its doctrinal documents rather than decreasing it.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because once again, Nikolai Patrushev said that NATO expansion and America's nuclear capabilities remain potential threats to Russia's security. Well, does that mean the recent improvement in Moscow's relations with the US and NATO haven't affected Russia's military plans?
Well, the military base their forces calculations not on political intentions but on military capabilities, and Russia remains the strongest military machine in the world. There are dangerous debates on a new NATO strategic concept, which might involve certain increase of NATO military infrastructure close to Russian borders. And of course, the military has to take into account all developments, and they need to think about potential countermeasures. So this is a sad reality, but this is unfortunately the reality here in Europe after 20 years since the end of the Cold War.
All right, I got you. Aleksandr Pikaev from the Moscow-based Institute of World Economy and International Relations in RT's newsroom. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your views.